Hello, welcome back to another Naruto CCG Deck Profile. Today we're doing kind of a weird one, custom deck idea that I've thought of and I implemented myself, not really based on anything, but using a familiar engine in BR Flip. As usual, I am going to be discussing each card in depth as much as I can, so this will probably be a longer video than you might be used to from other deck profiles. If you want just a deck list, it'll be down in the description, ready to copy and paste into Untap so that you can actually view the cards and use them how you want. I will also be providing a link to the Discord that I play the tournaments on in the description down below. And as always, we play with the Midwest list with a few minor changes, but I also am very versed in the Untap list, so I will be telling you any changes that might need to be made to make this Untap legal. But without further ado, let's get started. Now, normally I would start off by getting into the first turn order ninjas, but for this video I feel like I specifically need to get into the strategy of the deck and what you're going for here, because it's going to be kind of weird and confusing if I don't. So the point of this deck is to use these two cards that you've probably never seen in your entire life. First is Homura Mitomon and the other is Koharu Utatane. They both have very similar effects. When this ninja is put in play, you can put in play the other one of them from your hand or discard pile. And then they have the valid effect that at the end of my turn, if your opponent has one or more ninjas with the overflowing chakra or tailed beast form effect in play, you can remove up to 6 cards from the top of their deck from the game. So they both have the same effect, just they summon each other when they're put into play. So that's where this Naruto comes in. It is a 0-0 Naruto, very early on in the sets, but it actually has the overflowing chakra effect name. Now, it's not what the developers intended you use this card for, because there's kind of a mini archetype of cards with the overflowing chakra effect name. But all those are banned and they're very good. So this one probably just happened to have the same name. They didn't realize it kind of overlapped. So how does that come into play? Well, besides hoping that your opponent is going to be playing this terrible Naruto, there are 2 ways you can get it onto your opponent's side of the field. The easiest is with this Outcast card. Each player chooses a ninja they control, then each player simultaneously exchanges control of those ninjas. So hopefully you would choose your Naruto and they would have to choose one of their ninjas, probably their worst one, and you would simultaneously exchange control of those ninjas. So that's the easiest way to get this Naruto on your opponent's side of the field. You'd also get a ninja of your opponent's, which is some beneficial tech. But the second way is actually this Mind Transfer Jutsu card, which is kind of an interesting synergy. This is the very standard Mind Transfer Jutsu that most Earth decks will run. It is limited to 2 on the list that I play on the Untap list, and for good reason. Its effect is you target one ninja with less mental power than the user, and the effect is you move the target into the user's team in any position, and at the end of the turn, move the target to your opponent's village. If your ninja using this jutsu has the Mind combat attribute, you can move the target to your opponent's village at the end of your next turn instead. That's usually the most beneficial effect, but actually for this deck, we're mostly focusing on this first effect. And it might not be clear, but the way that this jutsu works, if you target your own ninja on the field, you will pull your ninja into your own team. And then at the end of that turn, you'll move the target to your opponent's village. So you'll pull your Naruto into your team, and at the end of your turn, you will give this Naruto to your opponent, putting him in their village. It's definitely an interesting way to get that done, but it needs to be done for this deck because it needs to be on your opponent's side of the field to get this effect to work. So in order to facilitate that, I run both copies of these just to make sure that you have a way to do it pretty early on. But the rest of the deck is the BR Flip engine, like I mentioned, to try and facilitate getting your board in the correct state that you need it to be in to get this to actually work. So let's get into that. So the first cards I play are 3 of the Narutos we just discussed. It's one of the most important cards in the deck. It's the only way to actually facilitate the mill effect that we're going for. Otherwise, it's pretty worthless. It's a 0-0 when healthy, 1-0 when injured, so it's not even as good as like childhood Naruto's. Its effect is okay. It's valid when this ninja is in injured status. It gets plus X plus 0, where X equals the value of your turn marker. So later on in the game, this could be actually a pretty strong ninja, which could prove detrimental if you give this to your opponent when he's injured, or your opponent manages to get it injured. But hopefully you will have won the game by then. Otherwise, you're not going to be using this very much. It's just in here to be part of the mill effect. Second ninja I run is 3 Neji Hyugas. He's a turn 0-0. His effect is, when this ninja is deployed, your opponent gets 1 battle reward. That is typically very bad. 10 battle rewards is how you lose the game. But BR flip is kind of an interesting mechanic that you'll see more as we go along. So its valid effect is, during your mission phase, you can turn one of your opponent's battle rewards face up. Turning battle rewards face up is the main mechanic of BR flip. It's what the mechanic is named after. So turning battle rewards face up is pretty much what you want to do most often. And the way to do that is to give your opponent a battle reward and to flip it. There are some other cards that are going to be beneficial to have lost battle rewards with. They're cards that synergize with flipped up battle rewards. But for now, the Neji is one of the best turn zeros that you can get for BR flip, if a little clunky if you don't happen to have any synergy. Next, I run the 3 Tenten Endless Arsenals. It's one of the best Earth turn zeros. Her effect is, at the start of your turn, you can discard a card. In that case, draw 1 card. If the card you discarded was not an Earth card, move the top 3 cards of your deck to your discard pile. So she's very good at just kind of thinning your deck out for cards you don't need. And specifically in this deck, she is very good for discarding your Hotaru or Mitomon that you have in your hand early on that you want to get into your discard pile, so that you can, special summon it, put it in play when the other one is put down. Because getting them into the discard pile is actually kind of difficult sometimes. But otherwise, she's here for the draw, and she's here as a 3-0 beat stick on turn 0-0. She has 1 mental power, which is pretty good. And she is a female if you need to search her with Shikamaru's decision later. Lastly, I run 2 Shihos. As always, I try to run at least 11 turn zeros. I would run 12 turn zeros in this deck if I could, because I try to run more if some of my turn zeros are useless, like if I'm running a Hina or this Naruto that I don't want to actually put down on the field to use as a ninja. But I kind of needed the space in this deck, so I do still just run 11. But this Shiho's effect is, you can pay 0 chakra and draw 1 card. Then move 1 card from your hand to the top of your deck. So on its own, it's very good just to draw a card and kind of filter out what you might not need early on. But its true synergy comes in with the next card in the deck. But otherwise, it has 0-2 and 0-0 when it's injured. So it's one of the better support cards early on. 2 mental power, which is very good, and it's also a female in case you need to search it out, like I said. So moving on to turn 1s, we have the most important card in any BR flip deck, Hanabi Hyuga, and probably runnable in almost any Earth deck, honestly. Its effect is, when your opponent wins or gets any battle rewards, look at them. If there are 1 or more Earth Jutsu cards among them, you can reveal and move them to your hand instead. Then move the rest to their battle rewards area face down. So if you'd seen my previous video on puppets, this effect is very similar to the Sasori childhood effect. She lets you sort of unwin battle rewards from your opponent and get a pseudo draw from them. Like that Sasori, because her effect uses the can word, that means it is just once per turn that you're able to take a card from the 1 battle rewards and put it into your hand. However, unlike that, this Hanabi still lets you put the rest of them face up, even if you have already taken one. That part is not once per turn, that is required. So it's very beneficial to have her on the field as early as possible, pretty much allowing every battle reward 1 to be face up immediately instead of needing a card like Neji to flip them face up later. She's also female, in case you need to search by Shikamaru's decision. She is 1-2 when healthy, 0-0 when injured, so she's a good support. She has the Byakugan characteristic, which is very valuable for some jutsu we have later, and she's growthable, just in case you need to beef her up a little bit in the mid-game. I run one Ino Childhood. This is the only Ino I run in the deck, so it is the only target for Mind Transfer Jutsu to get the expert effect, but that is pretty standard for most Earth decks. A lot of people don't run more than one Ino Childhood or Ino in general. This card is limited to 1 in both of the formats that I play, and for good reason. Its effect is, at the start of your turn, if ninjas you control have a combined mental power of 5 or more, you can discard the top 3 cards of your deck and then draw 1 card. So essentially free in terms of hand priority draw is very good. And just like with Tenten, the ability to discard is more valuable to me than it might be in a normal BR flip deck. I definitely want to get my Homura and hang on, what is their name? I swear to God, nobody's ever played either of these cards. Koharu or Homura, yeah, those guys, into the discard as fast as possible. So milling them straight from the deck is one of the better ways to do that. Otherwise, she's also 2 support, 1 when injured. She has 2 mental power, which is pretty valuable. Unfortunately, with the mental power that I run, I don't have very guaranteed ways to get 5 as early as she is activatable. But her effect is still beneficial enough that she's worth keeping in here, especially only at 1. And getting the expert effect on Mind Transfer Jutsu is still very valuable. One of the things about Naruto specifically is that because you can't have more than 1 ninja on the field with the same name, I am actually not able to swap my Naruto into their side of the field if they have a Naruto, because it does check even swapping, not even deploying. So if they have a Naruto on their side of the field, one of the main ways I can get rid of it is to use Mind Transfer Jutsu with Ino Childhood. Keep it for the rest of the turn due to the expert effect, and then growth over that one into my Naruto, and then to swap it next turn. So that's one of the more valuable plays, and pretty much the main reason that I'm going to play this Ino Childhood, just to be safe. Lastly, for the turn 1s, I have a Shion Awakened. It's one of the only non-earthed cards in the entire deck. It is limited to 1 in both of the lists that I play, and its effect is, during your mission phase, you can remove this in-play ninja from the game. In that case, your opponent gets 3 battle rewards. In that case, select one of your opponent's ninjas with an entrance cost of 4 or less and remove it from the game. So this is a very good card in general, but it kind of works threefold in my specific BR Flip Advisor's Mill deck here. First of all, it works in BR Flip decks specifically because you are giving your opponent 3 battle rewards. That allows Hanabi to proc. If the top 3 cards of your deck happen to be Earth Jutsus, your opponent doesn't win any of them, and you actually get to draw all 3 of them while still getting Shion's effect. Secondly, I really want her ability to remove to be available to me. Like I was saying with the Narutos, if I can't get the Childhood Ino out to Mind Transfer, I really need a way to get rid of Naruto without having to Jutsu. If your opponent knows what the deck is about, they might just like keep a Naruto in the back just to be safe. This is an easy way to snipe it and get rid of it. So this is a very valuable card, searchable again by Shikamaru's decision, because it's a female, so it will let you draw. 2 mental power for Ino, and 2 support for any other ninja. You're probably not going to want to play this unless they are playing a deck with a Naruto in it that you know about. But the removal for a entrance cost of 4 or less is very valuable, and that's why this card is limited the way it is. So it's kind of a meta shaper, if you will. If you know the opponent's deck, it's very good to get down so you can remove specific threats that you know about. On to turn 2s, I run only 2. It's a Shikamaru. Its effect is, during your opponent's mission phase, you can turn one of your opponent's battle rewards face down. That's one of the ways that BR Flip interacts with your ninjas. In that case, select one of your opponent's ninjas and negate its effect text during this turn. So this card is very valuable. One, because it has 4 mental power, which is good for mental power battles if you get into them. But also pairs with Ino Childhood to have met her requirements with just 2 ninjas. And it also is a Shikamaru Nara, so with Shikamaru's decision, it allows you to search for any card in your deck, any ninja in your deck that you want. So you don't need to specifically search for mental power values or less, and you can still get the draw. Secondly, it acts as sort of a floodgate to put in play effects. So for example, if your opponent is using the Sasuke that allows them to put in play Sasuke Susanoo, you can chain Shikamaru's effect onto their effect when they activate and pay their cost. And negating that Sasuke's effect text means that it can no longer put in play the Susanoo card. So essentially they're paying the cost and not getting the benefit. But it's not just for put in plays. It allows you to negate any effect text during the turn. So you can chain this onto any activated card and negate it essentially for free, since hopefully most of your battle rewards are going to be face up. So this is very beneficial just for canceling effect text that you're very scared of. Like attached permanent missions. It's very easy to get rid of some things, but a lot of the times there are ways that your opponent can get around those missions, like with the puppet deck I was talking about last time. The father and mother card, you could chain this onto them before they're able to go into a team and become immune to mission effects, or you could chain this while they're in a team and immune to mission effects. So the uses are very beneficial, and there's just a couple of reasons why you want to run this. Next, for my turn 3s, I want to run 1 Choji Akimichi. Its effect is, during your mission phase, if your opponent has 4 or more battle rewards, you can put in play this ninja card from your hand. That's very valuable in BR Flip because you are essentially wanting your opponent to win battle rewards. So you could have lost battle rewards to get up to 4 as early as, I don't know, turn 1, maybe even. With Shion Awakened, you could easily get 4 on turn 1. And its second effect is, when this ninja is sent out to attack, you can discard one of your chakras. In that case, this ninja cannot be affected by your opponent's effects during this turn. So that's just very beneficial in general. Being unaffected by effects is very powerful. But this is also another way to facilitate getting your advisors into the discard. If you draw into one of them, you could charge them into your chakra and then send this out to attack and discard them from chakra into discard, so that you don't need to mill them from the deck or from your hand specifically to get them into your discard. It's a 5/0 when healthy, which is very strong. It can win 2 battle rewards by itself if it swings out and is not blocked. But otherwise, its characteristics and other stats here aren't really very valuable. It does have growth if you wanted to run more than 1, but I don't. It does have tuning for some jutsus that I don't run, but that you could. But I do want to run at least 1, just because there are a few squads that I want to go into with Shikamaru and Ino, so that's very valuable as well. I also run 2 Zetsu. This is one of the most effective negation ninjas in the game. Its effect is, it has tracking, which is a new effect that I'm talking about on this channel. Tracking by itself does nothing. When Zetsu is put in play, you select a ninja name, and any ninja with that name is considered to be tracked. So that's all tracking specifically does, but there are other effects that ninjas have, and that some jutsus have, that affect ninjas that are being tracked. So that's where that comes in. So the rest of its effect is, while this ninja card is face up in your opponent's battle reward area, you can deploy it. So that's extremely valuable. Not only can you deploy a ninja that you would otherwise not have access to whatsoever, But it essentially allows you to unwin one of your opponent's battle rewards if this is face up. So that's very beneficial. It also has ambush, so you can deploy it from the chakra area so that you can use this for free, essentially, for hand costs, which is very beneficial. It's the only ambush I have in this deck, and it's one of the only ambush ninjas that there is in Earth in general. Its second effect is the effect text of your opponent's tracked ninja is negated. So that's how the tracking effect is working with this effect. So that's very helpful because of the reasons I listed with Shikamaru, but this is just a continuous effect, so it's not going to require any payment or anything, and for that reason this is one of the best side deck ninjas, I think, in the game. I personally don't like to run side deck at all, but I know it's a very valuable part of the metagame that a lot of people consider. But I do think that you should run this in the main deck as well, not just as a side deck counter, simply because it does have that ambush and it does specifically work with BR flip. Lastly, I have one Tenzo Anbu Days. This card is specifically limited to one on the tournament server that I play on, but is otherwise unlimited as far as I know on Untap, the traditional Midwest and Humming events tournament lists. It is non-unique, so you can play this card even if you have another Tenzo or Yamato on your side of the field, but not vice versa. And its effect is during during the showdown, while you haven't deployed a ninja this turn, this ninja gets +2/+1 during this turn. So its effect is pretty good. It does include your opponent's turn, so you do get the +2 if you haven't deployed on your opponent's turn, which is going to be very rare. So this should be a 5-4 on your opponent's turns. But the real thing that you're looking for here is that it has the tree combat attribute, which is going to allow it to use a lot of wood-style jutsus and some of the best removal snipe jutsus in the game. And that's actually the reason that I'm running it today. It does have the Anbu characteristic, which could be valuable if you run Anbu jutsus, but I don't. It also has 2 mental power, which is valuable, and it is named Yamato, so be aware of that if you're not exactly sure who this character is. On to turn 4s, we have the Homura Mitomon that I already discussed a little bit earlier. So his effect is one of the main ones you want on the field to allow you to mill, and to my knowledge this is one of the only ways to effectively mill outside of fire decks. But the reason I decided to put this deck together was because Revitalize, which is a deck that allows discarded cards to go to the bottom of the deck and not to the discard, is very anti-mill and is a pretty meta deck. But the way that this ninja and the Koharu function is they actually remove from the top of the deck straight from the game. So it's the only way to actually get rid of Revitalize, not allowing it to proc by going to the discard. Even with cards that say cards that would be discard go to the remove from play area instead, do not work on Revitalize, which I think is very stupid, but that is how it works. So essentially there's no way to stop Revitalize from happening unless you don't allow it to activate in the first place. So if you can get Homura and Koharu down at the same time, you're actually going to be milling 12 cards per turn, which is pretty good for a one-turn kind of mill. It's slow when you consider that you won't be milling until turn 4, but if you can get both of these out on turn 4, which should be very possible, assuming you mill one of these into your discard and use the other to put them both into play, you'll probably be winning by deck out in 1 to 2 turns minimum, which is very fast considering you start from essentially 0 on turn 4. Otherwise, their stats are dog shit. They're 0/0s all around. They do both have 2 mental power, which is somewhat valuable. Ninjutsu, combat attribute, and Koharu is obviously a female if you search for her with Shikamaru's decision and then try to mill Homura into the discard. But otherwise they're here exclusively for the milling capabilities. So hopefully you can get that going. And the last ninja I play is a turn 5. It is a Yamato. Its effect is, while your opponent has one or more ninjas with the overflowing chakra or tailed beast form effect, which is what the turn 0 Naruto has and what the entire point of the deck is, they cannot win or get any battle rewards. So theoretically, you have your Homura and Mitomon on the field, you have your Naruto on your opponent's side of the field, you deploy this Yamato the next turn. Now you don't have to try to do some weird swings so that you don't kill the Naruto that they're inevitably going to be throwing at you to try to get you to kill. You can just let everything go. They can't win battle rewards, and they're essentially stuck until they can try to snipe this. But while they're trying to snipe this, they're not going to be sniping your advisors. They're not going to be getting rid of your Naruto. So getting this onto the field is kind of just a win more effect, which is why I only run one of them. And it is actually the only ninja I have that has a hand cost for that Zetsu to be beneficial with. But the second effect is this ninja can become the user of jutsu cards with requirements first Hokage. I don't run any personally. I just run some that have requirements tree, which he has. But there is a very potent card that has requirements first Hokage that just skips your opponent's turn entirely. I did try some versions of this deck with that card, but with this, it kind of got clunky. This is with the only ninja who could use it. Not even the Tenzo could use it, so I opted not to run that. But that actually is a pretty valuable card in standard BR Flip, because the Yamato for standard BR Flip also has the first Hokage stipulation. So it's worth considering. He also has mental power 2, but does not have Anbu like the Tenzo does. So getting into jutsus, the first jutsu I run is 8 Trigrams Palms Rotation. I know this card is limited on other formats, but I'm not exactly sure which ones or how limited. I know it's not touched at all on Untap, and not touched in the specific tournament Discord rogue list that I use, but I think it might be limited or maybe even banned on the standard Midwest, but I'd have to check that. But it is a 1 earth or 2 anything chakra jutsu, and its effect is you target every ninja in the user's team, not the opponent's team, and the effect is the target is unaffected by the effects of your opponent's ninja and jutsu cards during this turn. So just defensive jutsu, stall jutsu. You can use it retroactively later in the chain so that your ninjas aren't affected by a jutsu that is going to go off and kill one of your ninjas or do anything to them. The second effect is Expert Byakugan. The ninja cannot receive any damage during this turn. So you have 3 Hanabis, you have 3 Nejis, so chances are likely that you're going to be able to get this expert effect off. And that's actually the main effect that we're looking for, because if your opponent's going to be swinging with that Naruto, trying to kill it, you're probably going to want to chump blocking that ninja. And you can't do that forever, especially if it's in injured status and you get up to, I don't know, turn 6, turn 7, where it has like an 8-0 power. So this jutsu helps in kind of stalling it out and protecting your ninjas from any other sort of effects. Second jutsu I run is Howl. I run 2 of them. It costs 2 earth or 3 anything, and its target is 1 ninja battling against the user. The effect is the target becomes a standby ninja. Almost exactly the same as the 8 Trigrams that I run. It's mostly to counteract that Naruto, but it is just a beneficial jutsu to make other jutsus fizzle, to lower the powers of your opponent's team so you can actually hit over them. But mainly I run it so that they swing out with that Naruto trying to kill it. I can just shove it into standby and survive another turn, mill another 12 cards, hopefully. I run 1 Wood-style Great Forest Jutsu. This is requirements tree, so not first Hokage, but just tree, so Tenzo and Yamato can use it. It's one of the best wood-style jutsus in the game, and one of the best earth jutsus in the game specifically. But the target is 1 ninja battling against the user, and the effect is move the target to the owner's hand, then move this jutsu card to your hand. So it's essentially an auto mastery for free that is more than once per turn, and only at 2 Earth chakra as its cost. So it's very good. A lot of people, if you have a tree user on the field, will almost be too scared to battle at all just because of the existence of this jutsu. So it is very good. I recommend playing one of it if you have access to it, if not more. But even just having 2 users, I do want this in the deck just to be safe. Next, I run 2 Sealing the Evil. This is limited to 2 on the tournament rogue list that I run. I don't believe it's touched in the normal Midwest or Untapped Discords. Server ban lists. There we go. So it costs 2 Earth Chakra, just like the other jutsus. And it is requirements tree, just like Great Forest Jutsu. So Tenzo is able to use it, which is why I run 2 of it. Target is 1 ninja, and the effect is move the target to the bottom of its owner's deck. So this is another way that I have to try to remove opponents' Narutos from the field so that I can swap mine onto their side of the field. If they have a deck that's running Narutos primarily, like Toads or something, my primary focus is to get Tenzo out so that I can use Sealing the Evil to remove it from the field so that I can send my Naruto to their side of the field. And this is one of the best ways to do it because they're probably going to keep it in the back. They're not going to want to swing out with it, so you could jutsu it with something else, knowing that you want to get rid of it specifically. So targeting 1 ninja that isn't on the battlefield, it can just be anywhere, is very helpful. Next, I run 2 Mind Transfer Jutsus, as we've already talked about. It is limited to 2 on both of the lists. It costs 2 Earth Chakra. So it's the main way to swap the Naruto onto the other side of the field, like we discussed. But it's also beneficial to take their Naruto, keep it with the Ino childhood, growth your Naruto over it, and send that Naruto back to their side of the field with another card. So it's a staple in almost all Earth decks. I pretty much recommend running it in every Earth deck unless you somehow have an Earth deck with no mental power, because stealing a ninja for the turn is super good. On to missions. I run 3 turn 0 missions, Team Asuma. It is permanent for 3 turns, and its effect is when your opponent wins or gets any battle rewards, draw 1 card. So normally this isn't very effective unless you're going to stall and let your opponent swing, but this does activate on almost every instance of battle rewards being won in this deck. So if you play this mission on turn 0 and then you deploy Neji, you actually get to draw a card because they're going to be winning a battle reward off of Neji's effect. If you use Shion Awakened, you're going to be drawing a card. If you use the next mission we're going to talk about, you're going to be drawing a card. And if you let them swing through, you're going to be drawing a card. So for 3 turns, you could draw anywhere up to, 9 cards in 3 turns, more than that. So it's very beneficial for BR Flip specifically, and one of the best draw missions for BR Flip. Next, I run 3 Student and Sensei, the best Earth draw mission in the game, and one of the best draw missions in general in the game. Its effect is your opponent gets 1 battle reward. In that case, draw 2 cards. So gets and wins is treated as the same as of, there was some change that allowed them to function the same. So this does proc Team Asuma, this does proc Hanabi Hyuga, and any other effects that proc when your opponent wins a battle reward. So that's very beneficial. In that case, draw 2 cards. Drawing 2 cards on turn 1 is insane. Most draw 2 cards missions are turn 2 or later, so drawing a whole turn earlier is super beneficial. If you have both of these on the field, drawing 3 off of playing 1 mission is going to be insane. It's going to be nuts. Your opponent's not going to be able to keep up with that. Best draw mission in Earth. I recommend playing 3 of them in every Earth deck possible. Next, I run 2 Advisors. Probably another mission you've never seen in your entire life. It is a turn 2 mission with 1 hand cost. And its effect is search for up to 1 copy of each Homura Mitomon and Koharu Utatane ninja cards in your deck. Show them or it to your opponent and place them or it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. While this mission card is in your chakra area, your Homura Mitomon and Koharu Utatane ninjas get +3/+3. So this is a search specifically for the advisors that you want, and ironically, it's one of the best card advantage search missions in the game, as it actually goes completely neutral since you're going to be searching out for 2 cards in your deck and moving them to your hand. Not only that, once this resolves and goes to chakra, it's going to give them each +3/+3 while they're on the field. So if you have both of these in your chakra area, each one of them is actually a 6/6 ninja, which is kind of insane. That together they can be a 12 team, or just provide 6 as a back ninja, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. But obviously searching out your advisors is what you want to be doing if you don't have them. They're a key component to the deck and pretty much the only way you're going to be able to mill effectively. So getting them to your hand as early as possible is very beneficial because you don't want to waste turns waiting for them. Next, I run 2 Dehydrations. It is a counter-permanent mission with 3 turns of permanency. Its effect is target 1 ninja, attach the card to the target. The effect text of the target is negated. And then while your opponent draws 1 or more cards due to an effect, draw 1 card. It has been slightly errated so that it is 1 per turn for the draw effect, but that can actually be beneficial if you're running low and it becomes mandatory and you don't want to draw, but mostly it is a negative. I do recommend this over comp strengths for Earth decks specifically because it does have a hand cost over comp strengths, but it works for 1 turn longer, and even though it is negate instead of change effect text, there aren't a lot of cards that can't be negated anyway, which is the only main reason you would care. But the draw effect is super important because drawing is one of the most powerful abilities in any card game. So if you can benefit while they're benefiting, it's going to help you out a lot. So I run 2 of these, and I could understand someone wanting to run 2 comp strengths instead, but that's just personal preference on my end. Next, I have 2 Shikamaru's Decision. Unfortunately, the only card in the game I do not own. It's extremely rare, extremely expensive, I think, if you can even find one. So I do have 2 proxies here. But the effect is target 1 of your ninjas. Search your deck for a ninja card with an entrance cost less than or equal to X. Reveal it and move it to your hand, where X equals the target's mental power. If the target is Shikamaru Nara, search for any ninja card instead. Then draw 1 card if you searched for a female ninja. So the effect text can be kind of confusing to read, but essentially you select 1 of your ninjas on the field, and if their mental power is, say, 3, you can search for a ninja with 3 or less entrance cost. If you select Shikamaru as that ninja on your side of the field, you can select any ninja card. There's no mental power restriction. And then no matter what, no matter who you're selecting, no matter who you're taking to your hand, if it is a female ninja, you get to draw a card. So this is one of the best searchers in the entire game. It is limited to 2 because not only does it allow you to search pretty reliably, but it also lets you to draw if you're searching for a female, which in battle reward flip you are going to be pretty much all the time, because you're going to search for Hanabi, you might search for a Hinata. In our case, you're going to search for Koharu, etc. So you're probably going to get that draw pretty often. Otherwise, hopefully you're going to be searching with Shikamaru, so you can search for any mental power. But using it to search out primarily lower entrance costs is what you're going to be doing anyway, so you probably won't run into any restrictions. Lastly, I run 2 Outcasts that we've already talked about. It is a turn 3 mission. It is a void card, so it can use any other element to pay for its hand cost, but no other element can use it. So this is one of the other only non-earth cards in the deck. And its effect is, each player chooses a ninja they control, then each player simultaneously exchanges. We've already talked about it. So this is the primary way that you want to swap over your Naruto. Getting another card back in exchange is helpful. You don't want to just give your Naruto over for free, even if it is going to be beneficial later. So this is the primary way you want to get your Narutos to their side of the field, hopefully. So that's the entire main deck. All that we have left is the side deck, which is kind of odd for Earth decks, but I'll get into a little bit of it here. First, I run Choji Akimichi and Shikamaru Nara squad. I'll have it in the description down below, but you can assume that for most of these, you want to be running 3, just in the off chance that they have some sort of reinforcement deck killer like Tsunade Childhood that can delete your cards from the reinforcement deck and prevent you from searching for them or using them. So you're going to want to run 3 of most of these if you can use them. Its effect is, while this ninja is battling as an attacker, the effect texts of opponent's ninjas opposing this ninja are negated. It's very good. There is a lot of negate in this game, so you don't need to go into this to negate if you need to negate something, but it's there just in case you need it. Its second effect is this ninja's team can block up to 2 teams, and when this ninja blocks, place a growth coin on this ninja. So just like Father and Mother in Puppets, it doesn't specify that you're adding the powers of each of the teams together. So you are not adding the powers of the teams together. And getting a growth coin is very beneficial. It has 5 mental power in case you need that. Shadow and food. It has tuning. It's just a very beneficial card if you've kind of used your Choji and don't have any need for your Shikamaru anymore. Next, I run 1 Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji squad. Its effect is when you play a card, if that ninja is an earth card, injure target ninja. Otherwise, target ninja becomes 0/0 during this turn. If you can manage to get this out, I'd recommend it. Ino Childhood can quickly become obsolete. You don't want to mill yourself too much. Shikamaru, you might not have any targets to negate, and Choji might just come onto the field for free because of your battle rewards limit. So going out into this is pretty helpful. Every time you play something, you get to injure someone. That includes jutsus, that includes ninjas, missions. So you might get to injure a whole team just off of 1 turn. So it's a pretty beneficial card. 6 mental power, and it has all the same attributes. It has mind just in case you need it for mind transfer. So yeah, I recommend 3 of those as well. Next, I run 3 technically, Naruto and Shion. You're pretty much only going to get to go into 1 because you only have 1 Shion anyway, but just in case it gets sniped, run 3 of them. Its effect is when this ninja is put into play, designate a number, so you select any number. And then its second effect is when your opponent puts a ninja card with an entrance cost with the designated number in play, you remove that card from the game instead. So it's another anti-meta card. You kind of have to know who you're up against in order to get the most benefit out of this. So for example, if you want to get rid of a Naruto, select 3, and they're not going to be able to play their Naruto for a while. If you want to get rid of like 4th Hokage Younger Days, select 4, etc. Worried about, Fridori Sasuke coming back in the late game, etc. So kind of just an anti-meta tool. Pretty helpful, but there aren't a lot of targets that I wanted for reinforcements. Lastly, this is just kind of a blanket anything that you can use to go out into with Mind Transfer. Mind Transfer decks are kind of weird because you don't know what you might be taking, and the best thing you can do with Mind Transfer is take something with Ino so that you keep it for your turn, and then use it to go out into a squad or platoon or growth into it or something so they don't actually get it back and you get a benefit. So for example, with this Naruto, which is limited to 1 on both of the lists, if you mind transfer their Naruto on turn 6 and you happen to have a lightning or wind chakra in your hand, you can go out into this ninja by sacrificing the Naruto that you stole so they don't get it back. So this is kind of just a blanket, include like Naruto Sage mode could be helpful. This card could be helpful. Pain, Devapath, and Itachi could be helpful in case you steal one of those because it can squad by itself. Naruto and Yamatos could be helpful. Pretty much anything you could think of that you might be able to steal, that you might be able to go out into, like Susanos, maybe, I don't know, whatever you think you might have a hand cost for. So that's just kind of a blanket suggestion. I'll put some more in the description and the deck list down below. And hopefully you can come up with some other ideas, because it is kind of wonky to think of that. So that is the deck. It's definitely one of the weirder ones. I think I'm going to stick with a format of doing one more serious deck and one more odd deck with a weird function, weird ninjas, something like that, every other video. So hopefully you thought this one was interesting. I found that it works okay. It's definitely not a meta deck. It's probably like a B-, C+ tier deck. Definitely not going to be very good in a best of 3 either. But it functions the way I want it to, in that Mill is functional again against like Revitalize specifically. And it can definitely catch people off guard. You can also kind of swap out for other more meta BR flip elements. There are some Tentens in there that allow you to take from the battle rewards that have been won, so you could swap those in, take turn 0 Tentens out, something like that. But BR flip is kind of just the engine that I've ran. I tried it with Revitalize and it was just kind of too slow. But overall, I think this is one of the best versions I've had. I might do another version when I have other ideas and upload that in a couple months. I don't know. This is definitely my most changing deck. But if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm trying to put out a deck profile every 2 weeks or so, and I have like, I don't know, a dozen, 15, 18 decks. So we should be good for a while, and I hope you enjoyed these longer form discussion type of videos. So hopefully I will see you next time on the next deck profile. Bye.